Now, of course, you might recognize this car as a Volkswagen Virtus GT, but what you might not know is that this is Autocar India's long-term Volkswagen Virtus GT. And at over 12 months, this is one of the longest standing long-termers that we've had in the fleet. A fact I'm particularly proud of is that I've held on to the keys of this car for pretty much that entire time. Now, why did I jump onto the keys of the Virtus when it joined the fleet? There are plenty of things to love about this car. But when you spend so much time with a car, you also tend to learn a whole lot more about it, including some of its foibles. So stick around, because I'm going to take you through the whole lot and what it's like been living with this car for over a year. That's right, I'm going to take you through a list of the things that I liked and didn't like about this car over my 1 year of running it. And let's jump right in with... Now, I know this is subjective, but I think this is an absolutely stunning looking car. I'm a sucker for sedans, and this is one of the best to do it. Volkswagen always does these really clean and timeless designs, but just to spice things up this time, they've gone with the full GT treatment for the front with all these accents and the chrome and red touches on the inside too, but we'll get to that in a little bit. They've managed to do this while also keeping things practical with a high enough ground clearance that lets it drive over things that an SUV normally would. But all things considered, I think the proportions are just spot on. However, there is one oddity to its appearance which I'm sure you've spotted already. Now, the downside of that extra ground clearance is that there's this ungainly gap between the tire and the top of the wheel arch. It spoils those perfect proportions just a little bit. I'm willing to live with it, but I can't help but wonder what it would be like with an upsize to the tire and wheel size. Or maybe a suspension lowering kit at the cost of the ground clearance, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about something else that I liked. Now, Volkswagen, of course, is known for its build quality, and that includes a solid thud on door shut, but it's even the way things are put together that just feels really solid inside the cabin. There are some plastics that are less than Volkswagen's usual high standard, but I think we can give it a pass for overall just how good it is. Now, the way it looks, it can polarize, especially in this GT version in red, with the red bits on the dashboard, the red ambient lighting. Some love it, some don't, but I think it's really attractive. It stands out, and all my friends have loved it every time they've stepped into this car. However, but for all that goodness, there are quite a few oddities in this cabin. For instance, the windows, which don't always work with a one-touch function. Sometimes they just stop halfway. The wireless charger that sometimes decides it doesn't want to wireless charge anymore. Android Auto that disconnects every time you honk the horn. And the boot, which doesn't stay open unless you force it into position and hold it there for a few seconds. But for my next and possibly most favorite thing about this car, we have to hit the road. This engine is an absolute beauty. It's Volkswagen's 1.5 TSI Evo with 150 horsepower. Now, that kind of horsepower figure was completely unheard of a short while ago. Yes, rivals are catching up now, but wow! A sedan, a mid-size family sedan with this much poke, amazing. On the rare occasion that I bring this car out of town like this, I really enjoy it. But mostly, I would find myself zipping around Mumbai city when the traffic isn't too heavy. However, when it is... Unfortunately, this engine is saddled with a not-so-great gearbox. This car has the 7-speed DSG. And while that might sound good on paper, this particular iteration of the DQ200 DSG gearbox is not that great. It can be slow to respond, it can be clunky with its shifts, particularly at low speeds. And what that does is take an otherwise smooth engine and make it feel like it's constantly chomping at the bit. And that's fine when you're having fun, but it's not so great when you just want to get to work on your morning daily commute. Yes, every time the traffic lights go green, it's like launch control has been engaged, and that gets tiresome after a while. In fact, I'm afraid it's made me a bit of an aggressive driver, and that's not good. And really, there's only one way to channel that energy properly. I already spoke about the engine, but it has the handling chops to match too. This being a sedan, of course, you sit lower to the ground and the dynamics are just superb. Volkswagen has done a tremendous job with the chassis and the suspension. There's very little body roll and the steering is just so very nice. Over the year, it had me finding stupid excuses to go out for a drive in the morning, at night, and on the weekends. Trouble is, when you indulge it too much, unfortunately, having too much fun has its consequences, and that can be felt in the fuel economy. Turbocharged petrol engines in general and TSI engines in particular are known for being really sensitive to your throttle inputs. Your fuel efficiency can go from amazing to terrible with just a twitch of your right foot, and that's the case here too. This may be the 1.5 TSI Evo engine with cylinder deactivation. It can run as a 2-cylinder when you're being light of foot. And it even has engine stop-start technology, but it's mostly that gearbox that keeps it at high revs at all times that lets the side down. Granted, I am not the most fuel-efficient driver, I'm happy to admit that, and I spend most of my time in city traffic. Not right now, of course, but 90% of this car's life has been spent bumper to bumper, and frankly, I struggle to get it into the double-digit fuel economy figures. Now, I'm sure those of you with a lighter foot can get this car to do better if you can get the gearbox to cooperate. And frankly, if fuel economy is a higher priority for you, both the manual or the 1-litre TSI might suit you better. What does come as a surprise though is that the scheduled maintenance costs are not as astronomical as you might expect from a German brand. VW clearly seems to have thought this through with its India 2.0 cars. But now, onto a rather unexpected and very simple thing that I've gotten spoiled by over my year with the Virtus. This steering is just so simple and just so nice. I love the design of it, I love the perforated bits that you grip onto, I like the quality of the leather, of the plastic of the buttons. I like that there are all the buttons you need right here. I like that there are paddle shifters. You have controls for your volume, for your track changing, for your cruise control, for that screen over there. And that almost makes up for the lack of physical controls in the whole dashboard area. It contributes to the driving experience whether you want to drive for enjoyment or just to get to work every day. Makes everything fall within reach, and I think it's just a well thought out steering wheel. Simple thing sometimes. However, an absolute unforgivable are these touch AC controls. Sure, they look nice and clean and modern, but using them while on the move is an absolute nightmare. Yes, there's a little indent for your finger to fall into, but even if you do that, you don't know what temperature you're going to get without having to look at the screen. It's at 19 now and I wanted to get it to 21, 20, or maybe I should jab harder. Will it 23? It's very unpredictable, it doesn't work, and frankly, nothing beats a good old-fashioned clickety AC knob. So that's what it's been like living with the Volkswagen Virtus 1.5 TSI DSG GT Plus for over a year and driving nearly 10,000 kilometers with it. To sum up, it's a solid, premium-feeling choice for people who like sedans and enjoy driving. Like me. But perhaps its biggest drawback is its snappy DSG gearbox that makes it difficult to drive smoothly around town, and which can contribute to some pretty bad fuel economy if you're not careful. I've absolutely loved my year with it and I don't want to let it go. So what say Volkswagen? Another 6 months? Pretty please? Thanks for watching.